Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Jack here. This is the first video of my Silicate crash course. In this video, there's gonna be no coding. So if any of you guys want to start some coding stuff, feel free to skip this video and go to the next one. However, I still highly recommend you guys to go through with me in this video because there's some important concepts I want to explain. I will talk about what is a cloud native application and what is infrastructure as code. So before we start learning any new thing, we will ask ourselves what benefits we get out of it. What kind of problems are we solving? So what kind of problems cloud native application gonna help us to solve? Let's look at the example I have right here. This is a traditional backend system that I used to work 3 or 4 years ago. On the left hand side, I have a client that sends a request to the server, which is go through a gateway and proxy. I normally use Nginx. And then after that, request come to the backend server, which run by Node.js in this example. The system have a database, which is a MongoDB. On the static files such as images and PDF file are served via a CDN. The front end of the system can be any JavaScript framework such as React, Angular, Vue, with a serve static in a HTML, JS, CSS bundling, sent from the backend server to the client. In my opinion, this system works quite well, but when a system has a lot of incoming traffic, then that's where the problems start to occur. First thing I can tell is that it takes quite some time for me and requires some knowledge in order to set up this kind of system. You can host the backend system by yourself, or you can have to purchase the hosting from some other companies such as DigitalOcean, Heroku, and then the setup going to be different from different operating system. So think about that. You spend 2-3 hours and installing Docker, Node.js, Git, all that kind of software, MongoDB, and anything can go wrong. And even that, if later on in the future you want to have another services to talk to the first one, you have to go through all of that again. The second problem is it takes really hard for you to monitor your system. How can you do that? You have to install some external software, or maybe you have to SSH directly into the server to check how's the RAM status going. Is the CPU strong enough to handle that much of requests at the same time? And what happened if the server went down? Is there any backup? And finally, this is a problem when you have a lot of more customers to come to your business, which is it's really hard to scale. What if you want to have a second and a third services like that? What if you want some more Node.js instance? What if your database is way too many requests and you want to have like a cluster of it? How can you do it? And how can you set up a network if you want a microservices? So all these kind of problems will be solved by a thing called cloud native application. A cloud native application simply means that with the same system, but all of the components inside that will be provided and managed by a cloud provider. And in this course, I use AWS. So for example, for CDN, I have CloudFront. For on the static files, I store it in a thing called Simple Storage Bucket S3. For the gateway, I use API Gateway. For the database, I use a NoSQL database provided by AWS called DynamoDB. And finally, for handling the logic, I use Lambda function, which is a very interesting technology belong to a category called serverless. I will talk more about it in the next video. So what are the benefits? The benefit is it's super easy to set up. You don't have to learn how to run Docker. You have to learn how to install Node.js and install Git. Everything can be done via the GUI. It's very user friendly and fast. After a couple of minutes, your system will be up and running. And it's also very easy to configure as well. Second, when it comes to monitoring, AWS already way ahead of us. They have been around for more than 10 years now. So There are a lot of tools out there ready for you to use. And the third thing, which is the best thing I love, is all of these components are managed by a cloud provider. So you don't have to worry too much. When I say don't have to worry too much, I mean you still have to know like how the status of the system, but like most of the heavy lifting tasks have been done by the cloud provider already. And finally, it's super easy to scale up. You can have 1, 2, 3, 5 instances of your API gateway after a few clicks. You can have 2 or 3 or more database, and it just takes a few minutes of your time. So that should be it about the benefit we get from the cloud native application. So how can we set it up? There are 3 options. You can use the console of the AWS or the CLI from the terminal, or you can use infrastructure as code, which is what I introduced in this tutorial. So on the right hand side is what the AWS management console look like, and on the left is what my terminal look like when I use some of the command of the CLI. But we're not going to use it often, but instead we use a thing called CDK. So first, let's talk about infrastructure as code. This concept has been around for a while, and what does it mean is that you define the infrastructure of your cloud application as a code. You write a code to do it instead of you log into the AWS console using their GUI, or open your terminal and write some commands in the CLI. There are 3 options for infrastructure as code in the AWS. First, you use CloudFormation template, which is used mainly JSON or YAML file format, and you load that template to the CloudFormation services, and it will start creating all the components like DynamoDB, API Gateway, etc. for you. Second, you got SAM, which is stand for Serverless Application Model, which is quite similar to the first option, CloudFormation template. However, it gives you some extra features such as you can run the system locally, you can do some testing on it, you can deploy it locally. And finally, it is a CDK, which stands for Cloud Development Kit. Well, the same concept, but instead of using some declarative language, you use your own favorite programming language. And in this course, I use TypeScript. So think about it, how cool is that? You don't have to learn something new. You can use your own programming language doing videos. And that's it for this one. Finally, some prerequisites for you guys to follow my tutorial. First, you need an AWS account. And second, please install that 3 software in your local machine: AWS CLI, AWS CDK, and TypeScript. I will put some instruction in the description of this video. That's it for this first episode. Thank you guys for watching.